at 11 p.m. on April 13th, 1943. Deep inside the U.S. Navy's Pacific Intelligence Office, the clatter of teletype suddenly stopped. A coded Japanese message had just been decoded. It revealed that on April 18th, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, the man who planned the attack on Pearl Harbor, would depart by aircraft at 8 o'clock in the morning, escorted by 6 fighters. The officers stared at one another in stunned silence. The architect of Pearl Harbor, responsible for the deaths of thousands of Americans, was about to fly into reach. A single whisper broke the tension. "We can end him." Isoroku Yamamoto was not just any admiral. Born Takano Isoroku on April 4th, 1884. In the small city of Nagoka, he was the 6th son of a poor samurai family. From childhood, he was taught the principles of Bushido discipline, loyalty, and honor. Those lessons shaped him into a man of unbreakable will and meticulous discipline. In 1919, he was sent to study at Harvard University, where he witnessed firsthand America's industrial power. Living modestly, he observed the limitless resources of the United States and understood a truth that few in Japan dared to admit. If war ever came between their two nations, Japan would face a sleeping giant. "I fear all we have done is awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve," he would later say, warning that history would prove true. Despite his doubts, Yamamoto remained a loyal servant of the emperor. On December 7, 1941, he unleashed the attack that would change the world. Pearl Harbor, it was a tactical masterpiece carefully planned, precisely executed, but strategically, it united America instead of weakening it. From the ashes of that harbor rose a nation more determined than ever. To the Japanese, Yamamoto became a national hero, the embodiment of military genius. To the Americans, he was the face of infamy, the man who had humiliated them in one morning. When U.S. intelligence discovered his upcoming flight, a moral debate erupted in Washington. Was it right to assassinate a commanding officer? Would such an act violate the ethics of civilized warfare? President Franklin D. Roosevelt listened as his generals argued. Admiral Nimitz spoke bluntly. Yamamoto gave no warning at Pearl Harbor. He respected no law of war. After a long silence, Roosevelt made his decision. "Do it," he said quietly, "but make it look like chance." Operation Vengeance was born. The plan was daring beyond measure. Yamamoto would be traveling through the Solomon Islands, far inside enemy territory. To intercept him, American pilots would have to fly nearly 700 kilometers at ultra-low altitude, barely 10 meters above the sea, to avoid Japanese radar. 18 P-38 Lightning fighters were chosen, the only planes with the range to make it. 6 would form the attack group. 12 would fly higher as cover. The pilots were told almost nothing, only that their target was important. There would be no radio communication, no navigation lights, and no second chance. They would navigate only by compass and instinct, hugging the ocean all the way to Bougainville Island. At dawn on April 18, 1943, the engines roared to life on Guadalcanal. One by one, the P-38S lifted into the humid morning sky, heading north. 2 aircraft turned back because of mechanical failures, leaving 16 to continue. For 2 hours, they skimmed just above the waves, the Pacific stretching endlessly beneath them, each man flying blind except for the faint silhouette of the leader's plane ahead. Any mistake could mean death. Every minute felt like an hour. Meanwhile, hundreds of kilometers away, Admiral Yamamoto was dressing in his blue uniform. Calm and punctual, as always, he boarded his Mitsubishi G4M Beatty bomber at exactly 8 a.m. He was traveling to visit forward units and inspect airbase. His escort 6-0 fighters took formation around him. To the Japanese crews, it was just another mission. None of them knew that American intelligence had already turned their schedule into a death sentence. As the formation approached Bougainville, the P-38s appeared out of the sunlight. The Zeros climbed sharply to intercept, leaving Yamamoto's bomber momentarily exposed. Captain Rex Barber saw his chance. Diving from above, he fired his 20mm cannon straight into the bomber's engines. The Betty erupted in flames, trailing black smoke as it spiraled down into the dense jungle below. Yamamoto was killed instantly. Still seated, his hand resting on the hilt of his ceremonial sword. Moments later, the second Japanese bomber was also hit and crashed into the sea. The Americans, low on fuel, turned back toward Guadalcanal. The entire engagement had lasted barely 10 minutes. Operation Vengeance was complete. In Tokyo, the news was hidden from the public. Military officials feared the psychological impact of losing Japan's most respected admiral. Weeks later, when the announcement finally came, the entire nation mourned. Yamamoto was given a state funeral attended by more than 1 million people. His ashes were returned aboard the super battleship Musashi, and his portrait was enshrined among Japan's greatest heroes. For the Americans, it was both triumph and secret. They claimed the interception had been a coincidence. To protect the fact that they had cracked Japan's JN-25 code, the truth remained classified for decades. Time passed. The jungle of Bougainville grew thick around the wreckage of Yamamoto's bomber. Locals built a small shrine at the crash site, and Japanese soldiers stationed nearby stood guard even after the war ended. In 1960, parts of the wreckage were returned to Japan. One wing now rests in Yamamoto's family museum in Nagasaki. The site has become a place of pilgrimage, not only for Japanese citizens, but also for American veterans who once fought against him. Operation Vengeance was more than an airstrike. It was a turning point in modern warfare. It proved that intelligence, code-breaking, and precision could decide battles before a single shot was fired. Yet it also revealed the thin line between justice and revenge. Yamamoto's death weakened Japan's command structure, demoralized its forces, and hastened the empire's decline. But it also raised an enduring question about the cost of vengeance. Today, deep in the Bougainville jungle, the twisted metal of the Betty bomber still lies where it fell. The forest has swallowed it, vines wrapping around its frame like the hands of time. Tourists visit quietly, some leaving flowers, others simply standing in silence before the remnants of history. For Japan, Yamamoto remains a figure of both pride and tragedy. A warrior bound by duty, a visionary who foresaw defeat, and a man who died exactly as he lived, precise, punctual, and unyielding. Operation Vengeance ended with a single trigger pull, but its echoes continue to shape how nations wage war and how intelligence defines power. It was a victory born of code and courage, but also of grief and irony. For in killing Yamamoto, America avenged Pearl Harbor, but also silenced a man who might have ended the war sooner had he lived. His story reminds us that in war, even victory carries its own sorrow. When vengeance replaces honor and intelligence replaces humanity, who truly wins? The waves of the Pacific still roll over the graves of both sides, whispering the same answer that history always gives. No one ever truly wins a war, Lee. The truth survives.